Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Justice and Peace's guest speaker series. Today, we are joined by two paralegal students who are also on the Sheridan Paralegal Students Association. First, we have the president, Safa, and the director of communications, Saleha. So, Safa, perhaps maybe you can start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into law, studying law there at Sheridan, and a little bit maybe about the Paralegal Students Association.
Great. Thank you for having us. Actually, I wanted to say that first of all. So my name is Safa, as said. I'm the president of the Paralegal Students Association. So the way I got into law was I actually did my BA in political science in Quebec. So I've been an international student here for almost 5 years now, and I've always wanted to go into law. However, law school is expensive, and I did want to enter the law field in another way. And I saw that there was opportunities in Ontario specifically to be in the paralegal program. And I decided to go to Sheridan since it's pretty well acclaimed. And also the Paralegal Students Association is basically, we help students outside of the academic sphere. We're an academic club, but we're also a social club. We help students connect, especially during this virtual time where you can't see each other in person and where you can't even see each other maybe in the classroom. We help through events such as we have info sessions about how you can join as a member, about learning about different scopes we have as a paralegal, and also fun activities such as game nights. We've had Kahoots where we have fun prizes. So yeah, that's a bit about the Students Association.
And then perhaps your counterpart here can introduce herself. Tell us a little bit more about what got you into Sheridan and the Paralegal Students Association, and then we can go from there.
Definitely. Again, thank you, JP. So my story is a little longer than Safa's. I am a mature student. So I immigrated to Canada in 2012. Been working in as an administrative assistant since then, and also looking after my kids. When coronavirus came into the mix, that is when I was laid off. And it started off as being a temporary laid off that, well, it'll be a month, we'll be back. And then it was 3 months. And in that time, in 2020, previous to that, I had my own experiences with access to justice in the family court system. I had seen how it was so easy, especially for vulnerable immigrant women to fall through the cracks, because it's so easy to not qualify for legal aid and then do not know whom to contact, which lawyers to go to. And that is how I knew that, I needed to know more about the legal system, the Canadian legal system. So when I was laid off, I was at home with 2 kids, they were doing online schooling, and I just thought, enough is enough. This is the perfect time. Everything, every university, college, diploma, degrees, everything was online. I got my bachelor's degree, which I have from Pakistan. I got it evaluated by Wes, shopped around for different schools that had the paralegal program. And, I was accepted by Sheridan 2 weeks before the classes was about to begin. So it was a really, really close call for me. And the rest is history. I mean, I can't even believe that 2 years will pass. And we started mid-pandemic and we're still there. We're in our 4th semester, almost ready to complete it by this summer. So when I joined the paralegal program, I was really, really apprehensive that, oh no, I am an older student. Everybody will be young. They will know exactly how to study, what to do. I hadn't been in school for a long, long time. So I was completely out of sync. And honest to God, PSA was what really, really made me get in touch with peers. And that's when I realized when it was time for elections, this is something that I want to do. I want to pay it forward. I want to be there for others just like PSA and their executives and their whole team, the whole group that was there when I came as a first semester student. So I ran and I was lucky to be elected as the director of communications. Uh, Somehow this was like a perfect fit for me. And I am basically responsible for, creating all the social media content, running our Twitter and our Instagram page, uh, just finding different ways to interact with our membership. And it's been an amazing experience till now.
Perfect. So thanks both of you for sharing that. So let's look at more your time now, especially remotely. And Safa, again, we'll start with you. What have you found in terms of studying remotely? What has worked for you? What have you missed out on? What can you share for others that are going through paralegal programs across the province in similar environments from your 3 semesters of studying?
So it definitely has been a 180 from when I did my undergrad. I think 3.5 years were in person, and I did my last semester online. And it was a complete shift. I didn't know how to study anymore. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just staring at the screen, thinking, how am I supposed to work with this? I think that it's very important for us as paralegal students, especially since we have a lot of assignments, we have a lot of group work, and we have a lot of reading to do, that we just maintain a good routine. It can be very difficult, especially when you're online, to maintain that routine because maybe your classes are recorded, maybe, certain times you don't need to be there, and you can just fall into the trap of, I'll just watch the recording later. Don't do that. Just make sure you go to class on time. Make sure to go to class every week. If you do have any work related or maybe childcare issues, I know that we do have a lot of students in the program who do have those issues, but they make sure that they're on top of things, which is a good thing. So I would recommend that just keep a routine. And once you're in the first semester of online schooling, it is really hard, but you do get used to it. In my first semester here as a paralegal student at Sheridan, I was used to it since I had a little bit of a gap before. I only had 6 months before I started this program. So it was easier for me. But by the second semester, I was more used to how to study. I realized that I can't read off the screen. I need to print everything out, spent all of my money on printing everything. And I'm sorry to the trees that had to go in the process of that, but you just have to find your own learning curve. And I think students need to realize that don't be so hard on yourself, especially in the first semester, because that's your learning curve. That's when you're going to learn how you can study and how, especially if you're coming from a long time after not studying, you will learn and adjust. That's my main tip.
Now, Saleha, I think you recently had a post there on LinkedIn kind of saying, I'm going into my 4th semester. I've never stepped foot in class. I've never been in in-person court and empowering through this. So maybe you can tell us a bit about your thoughts now getting into the last semester, and similar to what I was asking Safa there about what it's been like, what's worked for you, what's not worked for you, and what can you share for other students that are going through this experience?
Definitely, JP. So for my own self, again, I could not study off of ebooks. We were recommended in the first semester that ebooks are the way to go. I could not do that. I had to buy the physical books, and putting like tabbing, little post-it notes, all these things helped me. And then I did find myself failing to stay on top of the weekly reading. And that is when I found out through one of the Sheridan, supports, that there is a program called Thriving in Action. It was made by Ryerson University, actually. And we have some instructors who do that program at Sheridan. So I participated in that. So I would have classes, and then I would go and sit in that program to learn how to organize myself. They told us little tips and tricks how to organize our calendars. So now I have like a weekly calendar, a monthly calendar. I know my readings. I jot down all my assignments into my Google Calendar. So as long as you have everything organized and it's in front of your eyes, it's easier to stay on top of it. One biggest challenge for me last semester was what is called complete asynchronous learning. That was not for me. And I was really, really bad. And I learned a lesson that, I did not read the readings for 2 weeks. Thank God it was just like an elective course. It was not like one of our mandatory courses. It was a general elective. But I struggled with that because I knew that the professor would just post things and all I had to do was read in my own time. There was nobody to check me or anything of that. So don't let that happen, because then you're in great trouble, especially if your assignments keep piling up. As far as not stepping a foot on the campus, I've been lucky to know people, to know my peers, because I've been socially active at the college. And as long as you're socially active, you do not feel like you do not know anybody. Yes, we haven't met face to face. We don't know each other's personality that well. But I know for a fact that, even when I graduate and I graduate the way I am as a remote student, I know a lot of peers in my own program. And we've had this, camaraderie through all this time. So it's not as bad as my post made it to seem. It's not that bad.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about the Paralegal Students Association and specifically what supports and things are there available for paralegal students at Sheridan. And certainly you can also look at it broadly for those at other schools that might be listening in. So Safa, what exactly is the Paralegal Students Association? What are the kinds of things you've been doing, especially in the pandemic with being probably very difficult to put on the same kinds of events that you would be doing in person? And what are some of the things that you can share there for students that may be from Sheridan, as well as anyone, again, from any schools? What are the things that they can be doing to kind of make best use of the time that we are remote?
So our main focus at the Paralegal Students Association, especially since we've been fully remote, is just making sure that students don't feel alone. There are a lot of new students that come in that we've had, especially now in the winter and then in the fall, that don't know where to go when they need help for something. There are a lot of, I'm an international student myself. There have been a lot of international students who come in. They're online, that in their home country, they are wondering, how can I stay more connected at Sheridan, even though everything is virtual? And basically, there are a lot of supports we do redirect them to. Like we have, if someone needs, talk to someone because they're having maybe mental health struggles, we have counseling services at Sheridan. If they need more support in the sense of, I need to talk to someone about further goals, I'm a peer mentor also at Sheridan, so we have those resources as well. And there are other resources such as leader shops, which help with leadership skills, how to build your public speaking. There's Toastmasters, that's another place for public speaking. We have a lot of clubs at Sheridan under the student union that are really great for those students who unfortunately can't go on campus. Like there's a dance club, I think, and other stuff like that, but they do a lot of remote things. Like I think they try to learn a dance move every week or so. That's what I've heard. And we try to just make sure that students know that we're there for them. Especially since we had a lot of events that Saleha can attest to, that we had ideas for the winter because we were, supposed to be in person, but then we had to scrap all of them and then try to make it into a remote setting, which can be difficult. There's benefits and there's cons to it because we did want to go back on campus, but I would say to other Sheridan students that make sure you are reaching out to your fellow peers. As Saleha said also, that like it's good to be social and it's good to be active on campus, whether you join, if you're a paralegal student, the Paralegal Students Association, into another club you're interested in, or maybe just you can join in. Even if you're a new student who wants to come to Sheridan, you can come to orientation. It's virtual, but you will meet a lot of other students. That's how I met peers who are currently with me in the final semester. I had joined those groups and I was able to join PSA as well. So it is, I think it's just important to make sure you're social and that you can find other peers who are like you.
I guess we can move over there to you there, Saleha.
Yes. So I have the same stuff to say as Safa, but I would just add something different, and that is, I consider myself more tech savvy than the normal than my normal peers. So what I used to do, even when I was just a simple PSA member, is I would look for events, and not just events for one particular club, but college-wide events. And as everything is remote, you can actually attend those from your home, from the comfort of your home. So in first semester, when I was just a first semester student, let me give you an example of something as simple as pumpkin carving night. I did not know anybody in the college. I joined in September. In October, the student union had a pumpkin carving. I signed up for that. They said, you know what, go buy a pumpkin. We'll send you like a carving kit. I got that. I got my kids. We put our laptop there. We had this evening of fun. I met a couple of students there. We exchanged, information, our programs, and that's how you keep building your social network. And that is really, really important right now. Isolation is a reality, and it can hit you when you least expect it, especially when you have these long weekends. Reading week is one time when it can hit people, especially international students. So last reading week, what we did was we had open virtual study hall. So we would come online. For example, Safa and I would log in. We would open our Zoom room for 2 hours every single day of reading week. Whether people want to sit and read in their own time, whether people want to sit and talk to each other, but it's just that, that feeling of group study, but you're studying in your own room. But just that feeling that there is somebody on the screen that you can look at, maybe ask if you get stuck on a problem. And it was nice. A lot of people showed up. And so things like that, because people need support. Counseling is one thing. And I'm not, I'm really open about mental health. I have gone to Sheridan counseling myself because things can get tough. This paralegal diploma program, all of you who are in different colleges, it's tough. It's not simple. So when you feel overwhelmed, you need to speak to somebody, reach out to your colleges and see if you can speak to somebody. That helps.
Now, certainly since you brought it up, and tomorrow also the Bell Let's Talk Day as well, what can, and maybe we'll go to you for Safa, in terms of mental health supports, or even if it's your own experiences, what, in balancing everything, what can you recommend there for students to be able to take care of? Maybe for some it's a difference, right? They're coming back to school after a period of not being, or they're not used to having so many classes at once, have to kind of keep on top of things, and as well just succeeding despite the challenges, especially being remote. What can you kind of add to that?
So I'm also pretty open about my mental health struggles. I've been to Sheridan counseling as well, and I did it outside of Sheridan as well, because as an international student, it's not easy. I lived in a hot country. I was around my family 24/7, and I moved here in 2016 to a cold. I moved to Quebec. I moved to a cold province where it was French speaking, and it was a full culture shock because everything was different from where I had grown up in the Middle East. I would say that it's just important, especially as an international student, to make sure you are taking the day off that you need. Because I've realized, especially in this program, since it is very heavy on, and other students will agree from other colleges also, that it is very heavy on, if there's not one assignment you have due tomorrow, there's another one due the day after, or there's a group project due in the next week. And then you're doing other stuff outside as well. Like over the summer, we had the LSOU mock trial, and I was still taking classes. I was taking six classes, and I was working part-time, and it was a lot for me. And then I had to just, before I was on the verge of burnout, I told myself that, okay, we need to say to ourselves, it's very difficult to do that, especially in a program like this, but you need to do it. It's the most important thing you can do for yourself and for your own sake, is to make sure you just, even if you go for a walk for an hour. I did that today because I was overwhelmed in general, even though it's just the third week of classes. But it was negative 14 degrees outside. I said, no, let's go. I'm going. And I went, and I felt 10 times better. Because I'm a very anxious person, and I'm sure a lot of other students can agree that you need to do the small things in order for you to not have a big breakdown later on. And just as Saleha said, make sure you are connecting with counseling services at your college, because I'm sure there are there, and I'm pretty sure it's free. I think at Sheridan it's free for 10 sessions, I believe, and then it's a case by case basis. But it really does help to talk to someone, especially when you're international, because you feel like you're alone and no one can understand you. But they do understand you. The counselors, they're there, they've talked to other international students, they know how you feel, especially if you've not been in school and it's remote and you don't have personal interaction with everyone. So yeah.
And Saleha, anything to add there from what you had said in the previous question?
My perspective on this is different. As a single mom, I also had my kids. And in these past year and a half, they've been learning online from home as well, alongside myself. So I had to prioritize myself and my studies and my family. So I was a person who was really, really into organization and cleanliness. And, it has to be a home cooked meal. It has to be fresh. You have to do this. Give yourself a break. You cannot do everything. If you have kids and you're working and you're studying, give yourself a break. It's okay to order takeout. Stop being so hard on yourself. Do not judge yourself, and be kind to yourself. I tell myself this, I have a little sticky note on my wall right above my monitor, and I read it to myself every time I'm like, you are not getting, an 85% or a 90%. Why can't you do better? It's okay. You're doing your best, because you will never speak like that to your best friend. You would never tell your best friend that. So speak to yourself as you would talk to your friends. Be encouraging, be gentle, and take it one day at a time.
Now, Safa, in terms of your own background there, you said coming as an international student, coming to Canada, the time in Quebec, and then coming to Sheridan. What can you share for others who may be in similar positions, who are relatively new to the country and thinking about, well, I don't really know much about the law here. I don't know anything, right? I mean, is a paralegal program for me? And maybe they're considering something similarly. What can you share with them in terms of making that leap, and whether it's at Sheridan or any other college, of getting into a paralegal program? And what kind of did you have from that perspective that you can kind of distill for them who may be having some doubts of whether they can take a program here in Ontario, with maybe not having as much of a background, not going to high school in Ontario, and having some kind of history or law or understanding of that as someone who may have been born or grown up here?
I think for the first part of the question about whether you want to make that leap into the paralegal program, especially as an international student, I'll be candid. I think you really need to have an interest in the law, and you're especially learning about the law in Canada. It's different. I'm originally from Pakistan. Law is different in Pakistan. I grew up in the Middle East. The law is different in the Middle East. You have to make sure you're going to learn about the law in Canada, and that's what you really want to do. Because if you're in the program and you have a slight doubt about Is this really for me? It's difficult to switch out into another program as an international student. It's not as easy as it might be for someone who was born here or someone who has citizenship here, because we have different rules. So I would say that it would really be good for students to just think about whether they really want to study law and study as a paralegal in Ontario specifically. And just for, if you are not from here, it is really difficult in the beginning to learn about the law and how the law works here. I am maybe type A. So I researched about, what's different about the laws here in Canada versus back home. And I knew that they were kind of similar because it is a common law system here. And I did have a little bit of advantage because I did my undergrad in political science. I did a few legal based courses. So I would say that it is, you do learn with time. I've been here 5 years, in Canada for 5 years, in Ontario for one. I'm still learning about the law here every day because it's different province by province as well. In Quebec is different. Everything is in both languages, English and French. Here it's also, but it's more English. So it was a different experience for me because I learned about the law through that way. I think that it's just important to, if you do have family here, make sure you ask them questions. If you don't have family, ask a friend, ask a peer, you can ask a colleague if you're working somewhere. They'll always, anyone who I've spoken to who is from here, born and raised here, or who immigrated here and now they're a citizen, they've always been very open and helpful to me. And that's one thing that I really do appreciate about Canada in general, that people are open and they're welcoming to your questions if you're confused. So I would say that you can make sure that you're learning about the law and how it works here, especially if you didn't go to high school here, or you can just try to figure it out as you go. There's no problem in learning as you go. And I had to learn that the hard way because it's not easy for someone like me who does like to do the research beforehand. But I would say that make sure you know that you want to study in this program, because you need to keep that consistency for a long time. That's the only reason I have better grades than I did in my undergrad, is because I'm actually interested in this program. So just make sure that you really want to do this, because it will be difficult later on if you are not that interested in it.
Now, Saleha, from your own perspective there as well, you have the same background in terms of coming here, but as well, you have kids, you're a mature student. And I often have quite a lot of mature students in my class, and they have that sometimes that same apprehension the first couple of courses of, is this the right decision for me? Can I manage everything? How am I going to be able to take care of the kids or everything like that? What can you share from your experience thus far about anyone that's, again, making a similar decision, about being ready to be able to handle everything, and share from your success thus far in your program and in balancing everything as best as you can?
Yes, JP. As far as balancing goes, you will always have imbalances as well. There will be times when I do give more time and attention to my studies than anything else. And it's because for my own case, I have made these 2 years, this education, my biggest priority. And because I had waited a long, long time to go back to school in Canada. My kids were much younger. A couple of years ago, I would not have been able to do this. And that's why I did not. And now they are they are older. They can be a little more independent. And kids are very resilient. When they see their parents, whether it be a mother or a father, when they see their parents working hard and studying, and they have a goal in mind, the kids also are like, they're behind you, they're rooting for you, and they're more excited about it than sometimes I am. They're like, my mommy is going to be a paralegal, wow. So it's things like that. And being a mature student, yes, it was difficult. And I was hard on myself. I don't know why I had this thought that every little name in the chat box in our like virtual classroom, is everybody is an 18-year-old. It was after the third week when we started talking to each other that I realized, no, there's a wonderful mix of people. There are, other mature students. There are students who this is their second career, going to be a second career. So do not be hard on yourself. Don't be shy, and speak up. Because if you do not speak up, you will not know who else is out there. So I hope that I was able to answer your question.
Yes, perfect. And now back to you, Safa. In terms of beyond the classroom, I think some of you've mentioned things, obviously the Paralegal Students Association itself, but what are some of the other things that you've been involved with in terms of extracurriculars that you found really helped build the experience for you as a paralegal student? Anything that in particular that you would recommend incoming students to think about doing as well while they are studying in the program? And again, not always possible to do all the things you're interested in, keeping in mind our conversation before of trying to find balance and not burning yourself out. But what can you recommend for students that are just getting into the program?
So specifically for paralegal students, I would say mooting and mock trials would be one thing that I would highly recommend that you do. There's different mock trials that you can go into. There's a LSOU one that we did with University of Toronto last summer. There's a Dominion one that's coming up. There's different mooting competitions such as Osgood and the Highland Cup as well. I would really recommend doing them, especially if you're someone who is introverted like me. I am quite introverted. I was not good at public speaking, and then when I did the mock trial last summer, I realized that no, it's not that as difficult as I'm making it seem to be. I'm just a nervous person, and it's just if you make a mistake. I did make many mistakes during our mock trial because it is a very long process, but it's a very rewardful process. I made sure to just calm myself down and be, that you make mistakes and you move on. It's a competition and we learn. This is how we learn. And it really does help you for your mock trials and your group projects that you have to do later on. We have, I think, 3 different group projects that involve mock trials or tribunal work. And I feel like that competition really helped me into now. And I also am working part-time as a peer mentor. It's at Sheridan though, but it's outside. I guess maybe it can count as extracurricular. That also has been really helping me because I stepped out of my comfort zone. Previous extracurriculars I've done were more in the political sphere, electoral work, stuff like that. And now it's more of I have to help other students who are in their first semester and put the focus off of myself and make sure I'm supporting them in a way that they need. So I would really recommend the mock trials, as I said, if you're a paralegal student, and in general, if you're a student who can handle doing classes and work or want to have that extra challenge of working and doing classes, then I would say try to find like a low hour part-time job at your college, because I know outside, especially for international students, it's 20 hours and that's a lot of work throughout the week. So try to find a job at least so that you have some experience, or try to do some extracurricular like joining a club, and I think you'll be good to go. Then you'll at least be out of your shell and you'll be more social. So yeah.
And Saleha, how about you? I mean, I know you've maybe done some similar stuff there, but anything how that's helped you in terms of your experiences with Sheridan, or anything different that Safa may have missed?
Like Safa mentioned, mock trials and mooting are your best friend. And I made them my best. I didn't make them. My seniors, who were 2 semesters ahead of me, they saw me that I would attend meetings at the Sheridan Mooting Society. So that's another club there. So I would attend meetings, but I would never speak, or I would just turn on my camera and smile all the time, every time that they would talk about that there's a upcoming mooting competition or a mock trial. And in 2021, when Dominion was announced, they were making teams, and I was just sitting there shyly, just smiling on the screen, just like Hollywood squares as we are right now. And my peer, my senior, she said, you know what, you want to participate, right? And I was like, yeah, I do, but I'm worried. What if I make a blunder? I don't know what a mock trial is at all. And she was like, but you are interested, right? And I'm like, yes. She said, okay, sign you up. She signed me up. I I went as a witness. I didn't play the role of an attorney. I went as a witness and I enjoyed myself. It was such a rewarding, and I networked. I met so many people from the legal field. I met you there. And it was just amazing. Uh, those people that I met there, there was one student from Trios. Uh, I think her last name is Lopez. I met her. And then when I was competing in Osgood, she was our opposing team. And we were just sitting there giggling, and the judges were looking at us and they're like, why are you laughing? Like, well, we've competed against each other in another competition. And the judge said, well, mooting in mock trial world is really small. And you will not see a lot of students from colleges, paralegal colleges, attending these, especially mooting competitions. So if you're a first semester student, and even if you have a 5% interest in it, take that leap. You will love it. And it's a safe place. It's a safe place. If you miss something, you make a mistake, this is just practice. You're not in front of a real judge. And yeah, it's been amazing. I've put myself through Dominion. Then with Safa, we did the LSOU, Osgood, and Lions. So it was nice.
Yeah, perfect. Actually, I probably, since I'm a director at Dominion, should mention that there is a competition coming up next month, February 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, I believe, the last weekend of February. There's a very interesting case, I think, for anyone that is interested. So perfect segue to mention that. I know we're also going to have an advocacy series coming up with working with the Law Society. So that's something to take a look at if you're wondering about tips and you're wondering, hey, how do I do all this? I'm new. Just to that same point there, well, you're going to learn, right? And it's, again, putting yourself out there and taking advantage of opportunities like that. And again, whether you win or you lose, you get that experience, and ultimately it makes you, well, one, I think, a better student, because you're going to have those types of activities in your program, but two, it'll make you better in terms of getting the chance to make some of those mistakes rather than make them when you're representing a client in the future. Now, in terms of everything there with your own plans, I mean, what can you share, Safa, in terms of where you're at now, finishing up the program, and for those who are in similar positions of that anxiety there of, okay, what's the next step, right? I mean, I got to finish up, and then we're looking for internships and writing the licensing exams. I think in your case, probably you can do it in October of this year or February of next year. What's kind of the plan there for you in your future, and what can you share for others kind of going through that same process of kind of keeping your head up and moving full steam ahead?
Well, there is a lot of anxiety around this last semester. We're looking for placements, trying to figure out, I can actually I hopefully do my licensing exam in July. So I have that blunder as well. And then figuring out how to apply for graduation, going get graduation photos. And then for me, at least, I have to apply for my work permit later on if I want to work in the legal field as well. So I think it's just, you have to deal with it one step at a time, because you can't go full steam ahead. That's what I'm doing. When I'm done in April, then we have placement in May, and then in July I'm doing my exam, because for me at least, I need to do it full steam ahead. Otherwise, if I do it in October, I'm going to relax and chill. And if I want to go back home for the summer, I will not be in that mindset of, no, we have to do this because this is the last step for this process before you get your licensing accomplishment in the mail. So I think that it's really important to just go at your own pace. That's my pace. I would like to finish it on time because I have been doing it for 2 years, full steam ahead, didn't have a break over the summer. And I think that it's just important that for me to do that, because if we get the family services legal license later on, I would love to do that. I would love to work for a little bit and do that. And then I will see where the future takes me. I obviously love learning about the law. I love learning in general. I would take more classes if I need to, if I want to learn more about the law. There's, different courses that you can take at different universities and stuff. But I would still love to practice in this field and see where it goes, because it's ever so changing. The law updates all the time, so it's this field. And yeah, I think that's where my future is taking me. I'm trying not to think about too much, but the main step is just to complete the licensing process for me.
And Saleha?
So licensing, when you join, whether in the first semester when you join, start a piggy bank for your licensing registration fee and the licensing exam fee. I don't know which world I was in. I didn't expect it to be what it is. I wish I had. That is one part that I was completely oblivious to. So start a piggy bank, put a little bit away for your licensing exam, because it does cost a little bit more than you would expect it to. Now, for the whole licensing process, jokes apart, take it slow. Read your application really, really carefully. It is very easy to make mistakes or misinterpret what they are asking you to. Print it out if you have to, highlight it, underline it. The whole part about finding a guarantor or getting a letter from somebody else, make sure that you're doing what is applicable to your situation. Like, for example, something that applied to me as a Canadian citizen did not apply to Safa as an international student. So make sure that you read the fine print. And if you're a student who has or requires accommodations, get those accommodations for the licensing exam. Do not shy away from these things. These accommodations are provided by LSO for you. So if you've had an IEP through high school and then during college, take advantage and look into the LSO's website and get that. It's not an easy thing, but it's doable. You just have to ask help. And every college, I'm not going to say only Sheridan, every college will have guidance counselors. They will have their professors. Ask questions from your professors and they will help you out during this time. Now, as for my future steps, again, I am taking things one at a time, but I do intend to write my exam in July as well. I'm just like Safa. I know that right now I'm in learning mode and I do not want to take a break. I want to stay in the learning mode and probably, by the will of God, just sit for the exams and get them done. And then afterwards, start looking for work. And I think that would be the most challenging part thus far. School 2 years, easy. Exams, easy. Actually finding a full-time job, that's going to be the real challenge. But I'm hopeful for the future.
Perfect. So I wanted to thank both of you for taking the time here and sharing from your experiences. It's always nice to get student perspectives while they're still in the program, because I think that's where a lot of other students, first-year students in particular, look to, right? I mean, whether it's through the Paralegal Students Association at Sheridan or just generally other people come in. And I don't think every school has something like that from the places that I've been at. So it's good to have sort of some structure there to provide those kinds of supports. I know you share things like, well, how do I network when I'm doing it virtually? What are the ways to accomplish things? And I think it's great to have a number of pieces of advice that you can give as a student for the next generation and kind of pay it forward, as you mentioned there, from the people who have done that to you. So I'll give you all both an opportunity to share some final words of wisdom there from your experiences in terms of getting through a program, in terms of some of the things we've discussed or anything maybe we didn't discuss. Any final words of wisdom? So we'll start with you, Safa, that you can share for those students that are listening.
Well, I would just say that at least in the paralegal program, it's a roller coaster. We don't know the future of whether, income students will be online, whether you will be in person or hybrid. With this pandemic, we really had to learn that one day we can be in person, the other day we could be online. And it's the same for everything in your life now, especially moving forward. We just have to take it one step at a time. And as students, I think that's really important. I think that's what we reiterate all the time to other peers as well and other new students, is that just make sure you are not overwhelming yourself, not burning yourself out. Just you have to make sure you put yourself first. And I do believe that it's important to just do your research in general about how to network, how to, I have no shame now. I will connect with people on LinkedIn. So, and I will say thank you for connecting with me. It's really important to take that step, because if you don't do it now, you'll regret it later on. I really do believe that. And yeah, I think I'm really glad to be here on this podcast, and it was really an honor to be here as a student as well, since I've been listening for a while. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Saleha.
So my nugget of advice would be talk to your professors. Make a rapport with them. Ask them to meet with you once a month. Yes, they are busy. They have their own lives as well. But you need to know your professors. They can't see you. They cannot meet with you in person because everybody's online. But if you make that effort to build that relationship with your professor, they will appreciate it, and they will know you better as a person and as a future paralegal. Secondly, get links to tribunal hearings and attend those hearings on your days off. Or if you have an hour's break between work and classes or life and classes, sit down and attend an LTB hearing or any tribunal or small claims hearing that you can find. Join groups on, wherever you may find. Ask professors who are in the field, who are practicing lawyers and paralegals, for these links to take you on as observers. That will give you an edge over your peers, and it will give you an inside look as to what the courts are in this day and time.
All right, perfect. So once again, thanks to the two of you there for taking the time and sharing about the Sheridan Paralegal Students Association and the other things there. Just again, getting through this time remotely, which is again a unique experience that you've gone through a 2-year program there, almost entirely now in the remote environment, and then succeeding in whether it's synchronous or asynchronous certainly comes with its share of challenges. So again, appreciate that, and thanks for everyone for tuning in, and perhaps I'll see you at the mock trial competition next month there for Dominion. So everyone who is listening, sign up. And I'm actually glad you mentioned I'm actually teaching tribunals for students at Centennial, and one of the things that they have to do is attend a tribunal. So it's great advice there, because I think you learn so much more from from listening practically there rather than just in class learning. So thanks again for joining us. Thanks for everyone for tuning in, and take care, everyone.
Thank you very much, JP. Have a good night.
Thank you.